All right, here we go. All right, everybody. This is going to be our weekly webinar on January the 16th, 2024, for Blue Chip Athletic Club. Thank you to Vanessa for this topic for today. It should be super good. So before we kind of get into the topic, I've been doing these pretty frequently just so that people know kind of who I am and what I'm about. So just so that everybody's on the same page, my name is Blaze. I've been the guy who's been 150 pounds soaking wet, and the guy who's been 230 pounds and almost kicked out of naval flight training for being too heavy for an ejection seat. So I kind of know the all walks of life, whether you're trying to put weight on or take weight off for work or kind of whatever your motivation is. So again, bringing this kind of down to the level of we are not very different in our lifestyles. It's just I think that I want to try and make sure that I boil down these things in a nice simple pattern so that you can get the body and lifestyle that you really want moving forward. So one thing or a couple of things that I didn't know moving through my daily life is achieving the body that you want doesn't take over 2 hours of working out in a day. It's more about understanding your body, listening to it, and working to improve, which has been seen to be much more effective. I train hard now, but as Vanessa can tell you from training with me over at the gym, it's typically only for about 45 minutes a day, and just educating myself on some topics outside that have been super helpful for me inside of the space. So now I feel as fit as ever, and I'm looking forward to bringing that to you guys as well moving forward. So without further ado, we're going to chat real quick. The topic for today is going to be stress, cortisol, and their effects on our well-being in general. Um, we're going to today kind of explore how stress and cortisol really affect our aging process, metabolic health, overall wellness. So what I want you to do is kind of think about this as like, a journey of uncovering our body's natural responses to a um, something that we've created as human beings that was meant to protect us, but can sometimes end up working overtime and affect our health over time. So, working overtime and affect our health over time. Good. So, without further ado, we'll kick it off. So, what is stress? Stress is something that I want you to kind of picture as like a phone battery. It's something that drains a lot faster when you've got more apps running, i.e., more things kind of on your plate. So, stress is something that happens that'll drain our body's energy when we're faced with different challenges. It's a natural response to demanding circumstances and can be like a constant drain on your body if you're having negative stress occur all the time, and it can have long-term and lasting effects as well if you don't keep it in check. So that sounded pretty morbid and sad, but stress isn't all bad, right? So realistically, the reason that humans have lived for so long as an apex predator is our stress response system. Without hormonal shifts, like we're going to discuss in a little bit, that kind of bring cortisol into the fold, we would not be in the top of the food chain. But the problem is that in today's society, we can have positive and negative stressors that are going to help or that are going to hurt our immune system as well as our functionality of our bodies over time. But, we talk a lot about positive stressors such as like getting a little bit uncomfortable in the gym or doing something that scares you a little bit in your personal professional growth. Like those things could be a helpful stressor. Whereas, something negative would be like, hey, you've got work that's weighing on you or family life or something like that that's going to like really hinder your ability to function. So let's talk a little bit about cortisol. So cortisol is essentially the body's natural hormone that's released when we encounter a stress. So what it is, it's almost like an alarm system that goes off when we perceive a threat and it gets us ready to react. Cortisol essentially prepares our body for a quick response, and it's kind of akin to putting armor on in battle. Increases sugars in the bloodstream, enhances the brain's use of glucose, and increases the availability of substances that repair tissues, i.e., basically just putting you into that fight or flight style of mode that everyone's pretty familiar with, I think, at this point. Um, don't really need to belabor that a ton. So, in the short term, it's an awesome solution to a problem, right? Ancestors could fight off predators. If the lion is behind us and we need to run or we need to, adjust our bodies so that we're able to evade, fight, or do any of those things, it's really helpful. But imagine this is like a car's turbo boost, right? It isn't developed to last forever. It's not intended to last forever. even in that fight or flight state in, human history, there was a point where you finally got away from the threat, and then you're able to enter that rest and digest so that you're able to recover adequately. And that's something that's really difficult in today's society. Shout out to the, Fast and Furious crew for breaking down what a turbo boost and NOS is about with my boy Vin Diesel over there. Cool. So in the long term, for our body, basically it's just stuck in this high gear, i.e. Chronic stress. It can really lead to sustained high cortisol levels, which will promote a ton of health problems. Heart disease, weight gain, sleep problems, all these things are eventually going to start weighing on you and then really make it difficult for you to continue to operate at optimum performance. So similarly, you imagine running your car at 8,000 RPMs all day and all night, more than likely something's going to break, and it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. All right. So stress and aging. So there's a ton of studies and research that have shown prolonged stress can actually speed up your body's aging process, right? Again, we talked about it too. Like you're running a machine at a higher level, higher frequency, higher output than it's supposed to be run at under constant stress. So the same goes for our metabolic health. Over time, cortisol can affect our weight fluctuations. It can make you lose or gain a significant appetite. Your metabolism can even start to break down and start to slow down. So essentially what I want you to do is think about like stress as well. The way that cortisol affects your body is like a thermostat on a house, right? If you don't regulate it, the house is going to just get too hot or too cold. And those imbalanced cortisol levels can basically lead to those metabolic imbalances over time. So again, like a broken thermostat in your house, the heat is going to be on all the time, whereas your body's supposed to come down from that, go into rest and digest your food, do those other bodily functions, and it's something that's not going to be able to happen if you're in that chronic stress state. All right, so here's the good slide. We're going to be on this one for a minute, so buckle in. How do we manage our stress? So there's a couple different ways that we can kind of manage stress that are proven scientifically to help you out. Regular activity, so exercise, right? It's proven to reduce stress by boosting your endorphins, your body's natural mood elevators over time. Something that's been super effective in the stress management world. Next thing is going to be a lifestyle change, such as meditation, mindfulness, and yoga. So being mindful, right? I feel like that word gets kind of thrown around a lot, and they say it a ton, but it's really tough for you to, if you haven't really thought about it before, have a practice to really put that into context. So the way I kind of think of it is having some sort of an internal dialogue that's intentional and positive and makes you aware of your situation. So think back to like an event that maybe like stress you out, and if you ask yourself like a couple questions in that moment, think about like how that could have changed your response to that stress. So something like, hey, was this something I could have prevented at all, or was it bound to happen anyway, and how or why? Was the event in or out of your control? How can you learn from this moving forward so that you could maybe stop this from happening in the future? So these are just a couple questions that you can use to kind of practice your own version of mindfulness when you're hit with a stressor, so that you're able to kind of combat that and come back into your body, into a rest and digest state as soon as possible. All right. Next one's going to be improved sleep. So a couple of different avenues that you can go with this one. I'm kind of leaving it vague on purpose, but a lot of people find really great success of improved sleep by actually improving their pre-bedtime routine. So whether that's reducing your screen time, watching your intake of caffeine can be another huge one, like drinking coffee at 8 p.m. if you're going to go to sleep an hour or two later is something that's pretty tough for your body to kind of regulate. So it's another thing that you can think about moving forward to make sure that you're sleeping well. So, not to belabor the point, but that sleep is basically the king of all things health and wellness. I could do an entire presentation on it, but basically, if you're interrupting your sleep, abusing drugs or alcohol, or drinking the caffeine late, your body's going to be more susceptible to a higher stress state. All right. Improving your diet is another big one. Eating more whole, minimally processed food. So you've heard the term, put good in, get good out. When it comes to your diet, you can change your body on a molecular level, which will actually end up affecting your metabolism over time. by the food and drink that you put into your body. So why not make it the best you can, right? So improving your diet is something that can be super effective. The next thing is a network of support. Think about this as like, your good friends, your deep connections, those types of things are going to be really, really helpful. Those people that you can lean on, vent to, a deep connection is something that's really ingrained in human biology, and it's something that can really help you manage your stress if you need to. Another one that I don't know if you're super familiar with, because I wasn't until very recently, is minimizing an energy suck. So what is an energy suck? It could be something as simple as unfollowing a news network and following more puppies on social media. I'd rather see a video of a dog being adopted than a news anchor talking about the latest financial crisis or war or any of those types of things. I'm not saying don't be informed, but the news is typically pretty depressing. Stress can be induced because of that. And unfortunately, stress and the negativity is stuff that sells on news networks. So it's something that you could potentially avoid and then see the effects helping you down the line. And always, if you feel like stress is starting to run your life, or you're at a point where, it becomes so overwhelming, you can always go and seek professional help. Don't be afraid to do that. I think that it's actually shows, if you are willing to do that, it shows a ton of courage, if you are able to admit that you need some help along the way. So what's the moral of the story here is that minimizing your stress over time can let you spend more time with the people you love, doing things you enjoy, because life is too short not to. And that's a quote from a fitness professional that I am following, and always have followed his stuff because he puts out a ton of great content as well, named Jeremy Scott. So without further ado, I'm going to open this up to questions and stop this. Well, I can leave the recording going, but I'm likely going to chop it up right now. So do you guys have any